What's up, guys? Our Wrestling Podcast back at you with another episode. This is Dave Vicious, along with Just the Total Package, Craig the British Bulldog, and Uncle Cuz, bringing you our perspective on the world of professional wrestling. No inside sources, no ties to the industry, just stories from the diehards, sharing opinions with you. Today's topic, dirt sheets and their place in wrestling. For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcasts, or watch our YouTube videos on our wrestling channel. Can you be a doll on social media and give us a follow on Instagram at O.W.P 2019?
Damn,
or on Facebook at Our Wrestling Podcast. If you talk over the O.W.P line of where they can go to follow, they can't follow. You just got to keep cursing them out. Speaking of cursing out, though, just have to say,
well done, Dave.
You know, speaking of dirt sheets, I just got to tell the story real quick we were talking about before we came on. But I'm that guy where Jess says, if you don't like it, Dave, just stop following him. I'm like, yeah, I'll just stop social media altogether. That's fine with me. You guys can handle that shit. But we went to Long Beach, and we're watching a nice little event there, watching some New Japan Pro Wrestling. And we walked down the aisleway, and they're like, look, it's Dave Meltzer over there. And I'm like, oh, really? And I just waited for the crowd to get super quiet, like right when a match was getting started and getting underway, and people were just waiting for the big move to happen. And I just tried to look at him dead in the eye from across the ring where he's there with his stupid little laptop, and I said, hey, fuck you, Meltzer. And I almost got killed, I'm pretty sure. There's so many marks at a New Japan event that
did he look at you? Did
he definitely looked over. I don't know if he knew it was me, but
he's absolutely.
I know that. I know that guy.
Who's the one that got paid to come here?
And then he just rolled Dave up like right there. I was like, damn, Dave Meltzer's
well, because you gotta watch out.
Dave.
Dave Meltzer's not
Dave
exactly
Dave,
I mean, yeah, Dave Meltzer's. I mean, he's not some fat guru.
For the battle of the name, like now Dave can't call himself Dave anymore. Like
in a public manner.
The weights every single day. He probably could take me. I think he could take me out.
He's a big dude.
I mean, so you know my opinion about the dirt sheets. I mean, just
So I want to talk about dirt sheets, right? Dirt sheets have been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And there's an ongoing debate constantly, like inside the industry, outside the industry, of does it hurt, does it help? Are they harmless? Are they harmful? So real quick, I just wanted to go over kind of the four, I guess, top ones. I mean, I know there's a bunch of them, but which is my problem with the dirt sheets is there's so many B and C level fucking dirt sheets that all they do is cut, copy, and paste off the main ones, and then they try to pass that off as their Or the bigger loser ones that just listen to a Meltzer podcast or whatever, and then they make headlines out of what he says. In other words, you could be like, basically, what happened to Tatanka, this, and then the headline will be like, Dave Meltzer says Tatanka, had the wrong size feet, and that's why Vince didn't push him. It's stupid, and it's just all dumb. I always joke with Cuz.
Is that true, Jess? I haven't heard that. Is that true?
I always joke with Cuz, we always talk about it. If you want to get hits and fucking all this attention, you just make up shit, right? Which is funny because the people that really make stuff up aren't really the main dirt sheets. It's the second and third tier ones that copy
100%,
them. They just make shit up. And then they say Dave Meltzer said, and I'm like, yeah, you just listen to his podcast. Any of us can listen to a Conrad podcast or whatever, and every day on our Instagram be like, Conrad Thompson says, Luger failed because of this. And it's just a sentence he said in the podcast, taken out of context. That's, I know I'm kind of jumping into it hard, but so the Pro Wrestling Torch is one of the bigger ones. It's by Wade Keller. That was founded in 1987. That's when he started doing that.
Wow.
Pro Wrestling Observer, which is Dave Meltzer. Dave Meltzer started printing the Pro Wrestling Observer as a newsletter in 1982. The Wrestling Lariat was formed in 1995, and then from that they were a part of a site called OneWrestling.com when the internet became a thing. And then that was Dave Scherer, and then Dave Scherer branched out on his own with Mike Johnson and started Pro Wrestling Insider, which is my personal favorite. If you want to call it. I like Pro Wrestling Insider. I like Mike Johnson a lot. He's like us. When you listen to him talk, I'm like, he just loves fucking wrestling. He's really a good guy, and most people in the industry are like, oh, Mike Johnson's, he's fucking cool.
So
he's
really
a good guy.
Maybe you're going down to the B's. Where do you place Brian Alvarez in that? I thought he was kind of working with.
No, Brian Alvarez is he works for Pro Wrestling Observer. He's basically Dave Meltzer's partner, right-hand man. And then the Pro Wrestling Dirt Sheet, I say Dirt Sheet. The Pro Wrestling Sheet is what it's called. That's Ryan Satin. Ryan Satin used to work for TMZ and kind of branched off and then started his own wrestling thing. Where else did he work, Cuz? You said it before we hit record.
TMZ.
He was with WWE and Fox Sports.
Fox Sports. There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
he
that's
had
why
the official Out of Character podcast
and by the way, so they only call like the Dave Meltzer stuff and the Pro Wrestling Insider and the Wrestling Torch dirt sheets. They don't really refer to Satin or Sam. I'm not Sam. Sam, what's his face? I can't remember. Or what's the other guy? The guy that does what's the other guy that does the panel?
The panel?
Oh, the New York DJ Rosenberg.
No, he does the panel a lot too. He also does like a podcast for wrestling or whatever. He's a younger guy. God damn it, I can't remember his name. I won't remember his name. But anyway, like there's two different things. And when you see the pay-per-views, when you see the media scrums, right? You see AEW allows the dirt sheets in, where WWE allows the cleaner people like Sam and Ryan Satin and all them or whatever, like in there. So there's two different factions in the wrestling dirt sheet world, which is that
even in the A sheets, there's two different.
And basically,
factions.
the ones that follow WWE or the WWE kind of like WWE basically says, if you want to keep coming back here, you will not say anything controversial. You will not say anything that's on the line. You will just ask like Triple H. How do you feel? Craig said it perfect. You won't talk
about other federations. Yeah.
You're going to talk about the success. Triple H. How do you feel about tonight's record you broke?
It's very cookie cutter, is what it is.
Yes.
Questions.
And I think the cookie cutter dirt sheets that came from the Meltzers and stuff, and Meltzer being the longest one. So I just wanted to go around the table and just get your guys' thoughts in general on it, and we'll start talking about if we think it hurts or helps or whatever. My initial thing is like, listen, I think it kind of pulls wrestling fans back. In other words, like when wrestling in North America went through its like first depression, which was like from like 92 to like 96, 97. I know NWO came in at the end of 96. Like, there was a lot of wrestling fans that would have probably stopped watching because they were so sick of the bubblegum WWE stuff. And into that sense, flat old people going to work for WCW when Bischoff was trying to like turn stuff around there. There was a lot of reasons why people shut off their television, and they did. And a lot of the wrestling audience from the 80s shut off their TV. It wasn't mainstream anymore. It wasn't like cool. The wrestling dirt sheets actually kind of kept the people alive, and the hardcore is wanting something. So when ECW came around, they were hyping them. PW Insider is one. Mike Johnson and Dave Scherer that started. They were going to actually stop watching American Pro Wrestling because they were just done with it. And then when ECW came along, they lived on the East Coast, so they would go watch shows, and it saved them. And
they were you know what? It's funny you mentioned that because I was thinking of starting my own newsletter anyway. My goal was to do a bi-weekly thing, every other week, maybe every 3 weeks, whenever ECW ran a big show and cover, the news and have some opinion pieces in there. And me being me, once it started, I had so much to say that, I think we did every other week for maybe 2 months, and then it was every week. And then it was like, well, if I'm writing about ECW, I have to get the WWF news, I have to get the WCW news. I already have the other stuff covered, and it just kind of took off from there. And we did a lot of grassroots style marketing in that I would print up flyers or free issues and I would hand them out at shows. WWF was not big on that, but Paul Heyman and Todd Gordon, they were great about letting me do it at ECW shows, and Dennis Carluzzo and the other indies in this area, they let us do it no problem. And you offered 5 issues for $5 as a starter rate.
Things didn't come along, and they started writing about it, and they would also they would really focus on ECW in their dirt sheets. And Dave Meltzer's more of a Japan guy versus PW Insider was an ECW like kind of site, and then they sort of spawned from there. So I think that I don't know how it really hurts wrestling. I think that if you hear something on a dirt sheet and you don't watch something because of it, I don't know how to say this without being rude. You're not intelligent. Like, there's a lot of things that I might hear some bad things about or whatever, but I'm going to go watch it. Whether it's a horror movie or a comedy or whatever, I'm going to go watch it for myself. If I have the means to, if it's free, I'll go watch it or whatever. There might be something that I see in a movie theater and I'm just like, I'll know when I watch the previews. We all see something that we see, that movie looks like shit, and we won't go see it in the movie theater. But then when it's streaming or it's able to rent, we'll pay $3.99 or $2.99 to rent it. And then we're like, it was okay. I'm glad I didn't see it in a theater, but it wasn't as bad as like a bunch of people said it was. Like, how many times have you watched a movie where you had heard before that it was so awful, and then you watch it, you're like, I wouldn't have paid $10 or whatever, $12 or how much a theater ticket is now. I'm glad I watched it. It was fine. It was fine for what it was. And I think that's what, like, if you allow the dirt sheets to tell you what not to watch, you don't really like the product in general. Like, you're not a wrestling fan, or you're not like, if you're a wrestling fan, No one's stopping you. Go watch everything, and then if you don't like it, I'm not watching it anymore. Like that's to me, it's easy. It's an easy choice.
That's why I kind of think why it's a sometimes it's a big nothing burger. It's moot. It's not if it shouldn't sway your opinion, then why is it even there?
In other words, if Meltzer shits on something, you're gonna ask yourself, if he didn't bring it up, would I have ever heard about that? The answer's probably no. He did bring it up in a negative light, and he did say this feels not very good. But I'd be like, oh, I didn't know Billy Corgan owned the NWA. Oh, I didn't know that this promotion was doing shows. I had no idea. There's a lot of things you can actually hear when you hear a negative comment, but if you don't process it as negative and you go, fuck, I didn't know that Chris Masters still wrestled or whatever, like, or I didn't know that,
I didn't know EC3 became the NWA.
Yeah, I didn't know that. And so, like, you might hear that pay-per-view sucked. I hear, wow, I didn't know the EC3 was still wrestling. Let me go check it out. Like, that's what I think as a wrestling fan, because I like wrestling. I love wrestling. And I think that most people, from my opinion, and I want you guys to go, I don't feel it's possible for it to be negative to me. I think that there's information in everything that you hear in life, whether it's portrayed to you as positive or negative, and I should just hear the things that I want to hear and go, oh fuck, this Masters still wrestling, awesome. Like, I didn't know Tyrus was over there. Okay, cool. And you just go and figure it out for yourself. Like,
no one's ever said that.
Maybe not. Maybe not. But
that last statement. Sorry,
I thought it was cool that he was over there for a while. But I mean, like, it's just. But again, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't know, you wouldn't have known that, and then you would make the choice. Well, I don't care about Tyrus anyway, so I won't go over there. Or me, I'd be like, oh, let me go check it out. Like, let me go see what's going on over there. So that's my opinion. We'll get into deep layers.
Mr. Kennedy was over there, so hey.
Yeah. LA Knight was over there.
Yeah.
In NWA, I wouldn't have known who Eli Drake was.
Yeah.
Unless he was NWA Hollywood.
Oh, I see your point on that, Jess. I've talked about it before. I'll just be brief on it, and hand the reins over to the experts below. But I'll tell you, I don't mind the opinion pieces. I don't mind the star pieces.
We were just talking about Craig, for the record.
Yeah. Oh my, that's not nice. I did not, because I didn't say that. I didn't say that. But I'll tell you, I don't even mind the opinion stuff, even though a lot of them greatly favor AEW stuff and other items over WWE, which kind of doesn't make sense. And I'm probably talking about more Meltzer and Alvarez than most.
It does make sense.
I know because it makes sense because of their bias. But I'm telling you, there's been some matches that should have been 5-star based on their ratings. It's purely opinion, and that is their opinion. It's okay. And it's my opinion to disagree with a lot of their ratings. What I guess the part that I don't like is when they're trying to tell you that something is going to happen, and whether it does or doesn't, like, I feel like you're spoiling it for me. I don't like that. And if it doesn't happen, then they lose credibility, even though it probably could have been true. And the problem with wrestling is that it could change. And it could change because it leaked. It could change because what if they leaked a really good story, and because of the leak, we didn't get to see it? And I know that happens. I know they change stuff sometimes based on the dirt sheets leaking it out, because part of it was supposed to be a surprise, and we're not surprised as much as we used to be. So that part really bothers me, and that's the one part that I disagree with. The dirt sheets are not good, but everything else I'm okay with. I'm okay with the opinions and rating the matches. I think that's cool stuff. Pro wrestling. You talk about Pro Wrestling Insider. Pro Wrestling Illustrated was really good at that too. Rankings and stuff. We enjoy that. I don't have any issues with those things. I really hate when they guess what's happening on Saturday. LA Knight's going over in Saudi. What if they said that and then it didn't happen? Like, as an example, and they ruined it.
I'm just so grateful that he's been exposed for the fraud that he is. It's just unfortunate it's taken this so long, because he's done a lot of damage to the wrestling industry. People don't realize that. I had somebody ask me today, why do you care so much? I don't get why people like you care. Well, that's because if you've never been in the industry, and I mean in it, I don't mean tangentially, peripherally, or I know a guy who works there. I'm talking about making your living, especially at a more senior management level or as a talent. There's no way you can possibly know the kind of damage a guy like Meltzer can do by creating the nonsense narratives he does, or criticizing people, or body shaming people. Yeah, if you're not in that business, if you're not the one, on the receiving end of it, yeah, of course, it seems like it's no big deal.
I don't like that, and I have a really serious problem with that, because everything here is entertainment, and if you give away the lead, they'll bury it, and That's my biggest concern. Sorry, guys. Go ahead. We'll stop.
Yeah. Because
It's great. I love dirt sheets. That's where I get all my
It's so
information
good.
from. I mean, actually, I do.
Hey, Cuz.
you
how
do.
many- Hey, Cuz, can I ask you something real quick before you
That's what I
continue?
said. I said I do. Huh?
How many dirt sheets have you been blocked from on social media?
Mainly,
None that
like,
matter.
Yeah, well, Sean Sapp, I guess. And but yeah, he's just he's a weirdo. Actually, a lot.
all the ones with 2,000 followers or less have definitely
But
blocked.
I got rid of my Twitter account.
Oh,
Less
good
social
for you.
media is better.
That's
Less social
that's
media is better.
That's healthy.
But yeah, that's what's unfortunate. Like when we talk shit like with about Dave Meltzer, like even when I text, like it's more of a running joke because we know Meltzer is just the main guy, and it's
Yeah.
we like making our fun jokes. My problem more is with like the Sean I don't even know his stupid name. Sean Sapp, that's his name. There's Ringside News. They're like really immature about the way they handle the criticism. Like they'll not only will they block you, they'll actually direct message you and sound really immature and fucking
and
stupid.
and maybe even.
And they're
threaten
so
I think
dumb,
that settles
and
on
these
what
are the
I'm saying
guys.
too. Like to me, they're the B and C players, right?
No, yeah.
I'm not
They're the
putting
ones
all
I
that
think ruin
onus
it more.
on Dave Meltzer saying he's the A.
100%.
I'm not
No,
saying
we
that.
just joke.
But-
Dave Meltzer's the face, so we just joke about it. Like,
Right, yeah,
regardless,
but I agree
it's
with
just more of a
Cuz.
joke.
I think like these fucking ripoffs, all they do is listen
They're
to the
fucking
Pro Wrestling
pussies.
Insiders and the Dave Meltzers, and then they copy it, and then they put their own spin. And like Cuz says, they can't even handle it. Like they can't even
And
like
keep in
they
mind,
can't
I'm
even.
not saying anything crazy. I'm just saying,
Right.
bullshit, or bullshit. Like I'm not saying like I'm not like personally attacking these guys. I'm just giving like a.
Well, not yet.
Oh, that's
not until,
bullshit.
Not,
That's
not
this,
until
that's
they.
that.
Not until they.
Yeah, that's like the
third.
third or fourth, like back and forth, like.
But
And then
it's
kind of
like, yeah,
you're a bitch.
no, yeah. I
Come
did-
and fight
I
me.
did-
Come on, here's my number.
Yeah, here's
Yeah,
my,
you
here's
can-
my
yeah,
number. Why don't you
fucking-
call me directly?
Fucking idiot. That guy's such an idiot, and he's known for being a drunk, and he's gotten arrested. There's a mugshot of him from fucking drunk driving or whatever, causing a scene.
Would it
in
be?
public.
Oh, if only you were blocked
Ryback
every
posted
time
it
he
too.
talks smack, you can just post that.
Well, no,
mugshot.
Ryback
And
was
I know
posted because he
Craig's
was-
got to go too, but
Go ahead.
also
Ryback.
keep in mind as we're talking about it, the line of like what this became. Dave Meltzer used to just print it. It was a newsletter that he mailed out,
Yeah.
right? And then as the internet got bigger and bigger and bigger, the dirt sheets did become a little bit more of a thing. But did they? Because Dave made a good point. Dave's like, I don't let it like interrupt me that much. But when the people inside the industry react to it, even if they say Dave Meltzer's a liar and he makes stuff up, that gives Dave Meltzer so much fucking publicity.
It does.
And they don't know. Like every time that Eric Bischoff puts at Dave Meltzer or Wrestling Observer or whatever, it fucking gives him credibility.
Yeah,
Same
it
thing
is.
with fucking Seth Rollins, which is why I get annoyed at Seth. I'm like, shut up. Like, don't talk about them anymore if you don't like them. Because Seth is so popular that people are going to be like, who are you talking about? Dave Meltzer. Okay, Dave Meltzer. And then
Chess.
everybody goes and looks at him. Don't give him, don't look.
You are so setting up Craig because Craig, what does all that mean? You talk about it all the time. It's
clicks.
so
It's-
yeah, man.
It's
That's all it is.
I think it's good to think of it as two different levels, right? Like, it's no different than, and every sport needs it, right? So it's no different when it's done right than AM sports radio. Like, how many sports radio shows are out there the next day on Monday morning after the game, and you're just bitching about your team, the Jets, the Raiders, the Bills, whatever, on your local sports radio, and these these NFL insiders are hitting the phones and working the phones and trying to like share news and break news, and it's kind of de facto journalism in some way. And when it's done right, Meltzer's a legit journalist,
right, Craig, shock jock.
Yes. So, and Meltzer has been he is a journalist because he does spend a lot of time working the phones, or he has in 40 years, people calling him from both federations and leaking news deliberately sometimes, and otherwise breaking news. So that kind of stuff at that level, and also the bread and butter of creating newsletters. And he spent 40 years, and he puts, 30 hours a week in creating a newsletter. Back in the day, you'd get
He still types out thousands of words every week.
Yeah, and back in the day in the 90s, you would
Including
get
on
like the
Twitter.
printout newsletter. Also, so and then it kind of morphed, and then you've got websites, and now it's kind of morphed into any jackhole.
I think a
and fuck
lot of
off.
that, to your point, Craig, is like, I got disinterested in the mid 90s because it was bad. Wrestling was bad. Like in like 94. I mean, there was bright spots like Owen versus Brett. I'm not suggesting everything was bad. But a lot of it was really bad in like 94 and 95. It was really bad. And it was flat. A lot of us took to the rumors and stuff because that was what we hung on. We hung on to pro wrestling because of that. I'm not saying
Yeah.
it was healthy. I'm just saying that that's what we did.
No,
So
it's good.
was
The back
interesting.
any backstage stuff, info that you knew that you could prove or talk about was always good. That's the most
in other words,
interesting
when
part
you
of wrestling
transition
is the
from
back.
something that you liked as a kid into an adult, you have to have a reason. And then we started getting, Craig and I specifically would start, and Joe to a certain extent too, we would start getting interested in the backstage stuff. It kept us interested as 20-year-olds versus, when we were fucking 14, a lot of things could interest us in wrestling, bright characters, whatever, fucking Hulk Hogan. I was his fucking biggest fan, but like when you get in your
Me and Gene
adulthood, it's like,
outtakes. Yeah.
you have a fine line. We had a choice to make. Do we just leave this behind and say I used to watch wrestling when I was a kid, or do we keep going? We found something, and it was the dirt sheets, unfortunately / fortunately, that kept us
But
in
it was
it.
different
Like,
back then.
yeah,
It
it
wasn't
was.
as
It
widely
was.
available and like instant. Like where now that probably wouldn't have the same effect. They'd be like, oh, that's cool. That's cool.
And
But,
that's where I was going,
good point,
because
yeah.
any jackhole with a Twitter account can pretend they are an insider or a dirt sheet writer.
Yeah.
And as we talked about, you
I
are
think
just
that- or
recycling
what it,
news that you get. Hold on, let me finish. You're just recycling
Whoa.
news that you get and stealing the headlines and posing it as like a question, like Survivor Series in what city? It's like Cleveland. It was already fucking broken
Yeah.
an hour ago. So it's like, and then it's just fighting back and forth, and it's like, how do you discern the A from the B from the C to the D players, and who's just fucking around
now we're
to try and like cause chaos? It's
Yeah.
yeah.
And he sent like a text out, and it was the one person that he screenshotted something, and it said like, I do this because it's my job, and he had like fucking 100 followers or whatever
Yeah.
it was. It's like, it's
It's
not
not
your
your fucking
fucking
job.
job. Like, it's not your job.
And Dave Meltzer, Uncle Dave, on the program, when people were blistering him about shit that he was obviously right about and correct about and reported on the time. And, Bruce and all these guys that, basically Dave, made look bad because he reported facts, make shit up and try to fucking discredit him. And I've tried to take up for him because as a journalist, especially with his knowledge of history and the obituaries and the business retrospectives and everything, and he studies the numbers and all that stuff, he's great.
And to make it worse, these pretenders, like Craig said, they will make news stories or whatever out of things that they wanted to happen. So
Yeah.
they'll see something play out and they're like, well, I wanted this to happen, so it's wrong that WWE did that or AEW did that. I'm like, no, it's just you wanted this person to win, but you don't know how much money the other person that won was making for the company, or maybe they're getting the push and not the person that you liked or whatever. We all want Finn Balor to win, right? But he's not going to win all the time, so I don't get mad about it. I just know that's his position in life, like that's just what he's doing. But some people will be like, well, if Finn didn't win the world title, then I'm pissed. And why? And then they start saying, what a failure this was, and this wasn't working. No, it's just because Seth beat Finn and you didn't want Finn to lose. But that's not bad, though. That's not necessarily
those
bad.
are the dirt sheets that rule, and that's where it does make it negative. Not that it is the person's fault that's listening. If you're gonna get too upset about it, then that's kind of your fault. But like when Bray was coming back and he didn't come back at like the 2 pay-per-views before Extreme Rules, stupid WWE, man. It's like no one was even hyping you about Bray. Like they weren't doing anything but telling you Bray was coming back.
Yeah, and then every time a pay-per-view would end, they'd be like, fuck this shit, no Bray Wyatt, fuck you WWE. It's like, they never said,
And like Reddit does a good job of my biggest issue with this kind of stuff is getting spoiled day of before when I don't want to be spoiled.
Yeah.
Give me the option to be spoiled or not.
I don't mind if it's like, oh, we heard such and such might be coming back, but when it's like, well, such and such is going to go over at the pay-per-view tomorrow, and then
it's like
I don't want to hear that stuff.
No, like Reddit does a good job, and anything with a spoiler on it, like it has to reveal, like Superstar backstage at SmackDown. That stuff makes me crazy. It's like, let me have the choice. Nothing is worse than like, here's what's happening. They decided blah 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 before just to get the clicks, like a spoiler.
I want Andre,
really
I want
pissed me
Andre
off.
to come back and just say no spoilers, no.
And I hate it in AEW too. Like not like AEW's fault, but like the dirt sheets. Some of the reporters that ask the questions, it's like they're asking questions outside of the world of I think they should stay in the world of kayfabe. You're supposed to be the more
Do
sport
you
oriented one.
do you think
I hate
that,
when they're like, yeah,
do
you
you
think
think
that's,
Taylor
like, good
Swift
for his
should you
character?
wrestle?
Like,
Should you wrestle Taylor Swift? Maybe. What do you think of that? Like,
Or
no.
yeah, something stupid like that was exactly. But yeah, stupid shit like that, or just like you think that was good for his character and how was he gonna be booked? Like, don't ask stupid. Like, I thought you want real pro wrestling. Don't ask those stupid fucking questions about like, what are you gonna Tony Khan? What are you gonna do with this guy's character next, or stuff like that. Like, don't ask those questions. Ask it in the realm of kayfabe. How was your match? Who do you want to face next? Who do you want to work with next? Who do you want to program with next?
Just playing
Not
devil's
like-
advocate
I
though,
hate it.
without some of those questions that are kind of halfway
Fuck the dirt
stupid.
sheets. That's how we're ending it.
Whoa. Just to play devil's advocate without the dirt sheets and the questions that we get, sometimes we wouldn't have had that gym by Christian a few weeks back.
It's Brian from the Wrestling Observer. When did you
Great, like talking to Marks.
when did you first see Nick Wayne wrestle? And what were your thoughts when you saw that first match?
I've never seen Nick Wayne wrestle.
Never.
Do you wrestle?
Thank you.
Do you wrestle?
No.
You don't wrestle.
I did back in the day.
I'm sure you sucked, which is why you're here asking me questions.
I wrestled his father.
But what did you give a star rating tonight? Did you give me
I
a
did
really
not
cool
give a
star rating?
I did not give a star rating.
That's,
Oh yeah.
Do you wrestle? And that's the thing. If they
He
started
knew
to
that he used to. Yeah.
if they started to react like that, if we started
We
getting
need more of
real
that.
stuff like that, it would be so much fun. If WWE would just do that a little
need
bit,
more of
I'd be
that.
like,
So let's actually talk about that. That's a good point. So doesn't that prove the power of the dirt sheets by having these media scrums and having these dirt sheets?
I feel like Christian's just
Anthem?
having fun.
That's a good
and-
point. That's a good
Yeah.
point.
Like it's obvious that they help the business by giving them access.
Didn't they
and
try it? Didn't WWE.com have a thing where they had a column? This is years ago. It was during the PG era where I think they tried having their own on WWE.com their own dirt sheet that they would post. I want to say they tried it and it just failed because
Wow.
you
Well,
can't.
it's
saw
not,
right
it's, not,
through it.
it's not dirty if it's your own sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all leaking like
That,
information. from New
that can
Japan
mean
and
so many
TNA.
things, Craig. Oh my god, it's not
They're,
dirty if it's your own
they're
sheet.
reading the
Bullet
results like
Club
Bischoff used to
disbanded?
everybody else.
Oh, yeah, fucking-
Yeah.
That's our
And
new
honestly,
slogan. That's
the
our new
original
slogan,
dirt
Craig.
sheet was the 1-900-9900, right? Like
Yeah,
the wrestling hotline.
yeah.
That was the original. You would pay them
Gee,
$1.65 a
Gee,
minute.
made so much money on that. That's our
And
new
the
slogan, by
original
way,
dirt
guys.
sheet, by the way, that we saw on TV was Eric Bischoff reading the results for Raw.
Yeah.
Like straight up. Like
Oh, they
just
all
fucking
had
them up.
hotlines. ECW had hotlines. WCW, yeah, I remember
Yeah.
their hotlines.
Yeah.
that they would
I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to start announcing it the rest of the way. O.W.P. It's not dirty if it's your own sheet. That's how every show's going to start now.
So the thing, and you brought our name into it. When we're not a force or anything like that. I'm not suggesting that we hang up there with any of the other
We're not
sites or
dirt sheets.
podcasts.
We're not dirt
But I mean,
sheets. We're just-
we
we're just
specifically. I
talk
remember
about
when we
wrestling for
wrote
fun.
the opening. Dave, Cuz and I, we were sitting, and I was just like, I think we should make it clear that we have no ties to the industries, and we're not dirt sheets because I don't want to be that because I think that. I'm not saying we would probably get way more clicks if we caved into that, but at the same time, like I always wanted, like we're fans and we want to talk about what we liked and why we stayed wrestling fans, especially now that we're in our 40s. Like I think
Yeah.
that's an interesting story. It's not obviously to the mainstream people because they want gossip and dirt and bullshit. But I mean, like I think that fans in their 40s, how did you stay fans for so long? I think that's an interesting like thing, and the fact that we did this, we're still doing this podcast now. And we still kind of talk about it, we're passionate about it. Speaks a lot for the entertainment or sport, whatever you want to call it, of pro wrestling. And I think that dirt sheets did keep a lot of people interested. I think that we are products of that to a certain extent. But I wanted to draw the line because I have a strong belief of we have no business there anyway. We don't know anyone in the industry per se. We've never worked in professional wrestling. We've never produced segments. We've not, we could just talk about what we saw and how we reacted as fans or whatever. And we get passionate sometimes and talk about it, like we know, but we don't.
Yeah.
And that's why I really like Dave's
Yeah.
intro. And I'm really proud of that every time I hear it. Because if anybody ever says anything, I'm like, listen to the fucking intro. Listen to it. We're not
Yeah.
dirt sheets. So don't make us try to,
Straight
you
up
messed up.
opinions.
You were wrong on that fact. Listen to the intro. We're just talking. Fuck off. Like, we're just fans like you. We're not any better or worse than you. We're the same. Like, and so we're not. And
Well,
so
we're
a lot
better
of these
than
pretenders out there are pretending like they know it's my job. Like, I couldn't imagine saying that. It's my
their
job
job.
to watch wrestling. No, it's not.
my job.
It's not your fucking job. Like, shut
And a
up.
lot of them say that, by the way.
I only-
my job.
It's my job. It's not.
A lot of them say that. It
I only
wasn't
haul
my
boxes
job
at
to watch
Amazon
wrestling.
for
I
the
would've watched this
insurance.
fucking
That's
trash
why
Raw
I do
tomorrow.
it.
I want to be watching this fucking. Oh, and then that from that page, there's another idiot on there that says NXT has to be the worst pro wrestling show.
What are you talking about? Like, you're
On a
so
weekly
stupid.
basis. I mean,
How does that
Why?
even make sense?
Like, you want to compare stuff? Like, what are you talking about? Like, you have no.
But they know it gets some clicks.
Did you ever watch
you-
WCW Uncensored 95? I don't think you have. Did you ever watch King of the Ring 95? I don't think
Did
you
you
have.
did you ever watch WrestleMania
Did you
9?
watch the last 6 WCW pay-per-views? Okay, then you haven't
Get
lived through
offended
that
when
war.
People say that because I'm like, bitch, I paid $30 a month to watch Uncensored 95, Arcade 94,
Sin,
Great American Bash
greed.
91. Fuck off. Like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, I lived through, I earned my stripes.
It's
like,
just there's no real proof of concept. There's no quantitative evidence of anything that you're saying, and yet you just spew it out. It's a lot of ignorance. It's a lot of it's a lot of things for clicks, just to get people hot on the collar. And right now, us talking about it is giving them exactly what they want.
Yeah, but it also keeps us all interested, and the conversation keeps going, and it's good to have a conversation starter outside the product itself. So
I know we didn't solve anything, but I'm glad. I have been stressing about this topic for forever because I wanted to write a topic on it. I'm like, there's no way I can write a topic on it. What am I going to do?
No,
Like,
it's
Just
you know,
talk it
there's
through.
Too much of
and
it.
then
It's
recently
hard.
we started these little, or shoot topics or freeform topics, and I was like, all right. So I know we didn't
builder
solve
sheets.
anything,
Well,
but I think
by the way, Jess, I mean the next thing we're going to do probably down the line is Wrestling Gets Real with these type of sheets and these type of reporters, or even
Oh, yeah.
reporters outside of the industry. That gets really, it kind of ties into this. It gets really interesting, man.
so. Yeah, I know we didn't solve anything, but think it wasn't
did.
as painful
They're
as I
just
thought. Like I think we all four said like different things, and I think. When I wanted to base it around more of like, this is why we're kind of here. Like, if you just left it alone and you didn't want to know anything that worked behind the scenes, we probably would have left this behind when we were 16. We'd have been like, I'm too old for it. You know what I mean? But instead, we were still finding reasons in the mid 90s to claw on and try it, whether it was piling in my minivan and going to the pond when it was called
And
the
then-
pond, or
and
when
then the Monday Night Wars saved us all.
yeah, and the Monday Night Wars came along, and
Stone
ECW
Cold,
came
the
along,
greatest
and
of all
here we
time,
go.
came and he revived everyone's love for pro wrestling. Oh,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
did.
brother. Yeah, brother.
Brother.
that's right, brother.
Any closing comments? Anything that we missed, real quick, before we?
Dirt sheets are mostly trash nowadays, and that's better. Yeah, pretty much it. They are.
That's true.
It's your job.
I would
It's
say
their
the top. I'd say the top ones don't consider themselves dirt sheets. They consider themselves legitimate media for wrestling, and rightfully so. They do their jobs. They really dig, and they work a lot. Like, you got to I don't like to listen to Alvarez and Meltzer as an example, but they do.
But they work
really
hard. They work incredibly hard.
They
Like,
really
do.
try to bring you accurate
these
information.
geeks
They're not trying to feed you BS, and so I get it. I just don't like it.
I didn't say it actually in the episode, so I'll say it now. When I listen to wrestlers who are in the industry, a big critique of Dave is not his numbers, because he does research and they're like, oh, I like that. He's a historical. Yeah. He's a historian. He's a wrestling historian,
Right.
And even Jim Cornette, who was actually a wrestling historian, because Jim Cornette saved and wrote every fucking thing down, by the way. Jim Cornette's just what he does. He respects Dave for that. They all don't respect Dave for, Ryback said it. A bunch of other people have said it. And Ryback's kind of polarizing, so he's a bad example. But, like, there's a lot of wrestlers that said, he leaked something about me, and my phone never rang. And I didn't pick up my phone going, oh, Meltzer. Like, and they're like, I just wish that if he was going to leak something about me or say something about me.
He could have called me.
He could
and
have
get me on the
fucking
record
called
and
me.
asked me.
And, like, he could have just said, and even if he wanted to leak the story and say this happened, but we did reach out to so-and-so for comment and they said this, he's like, but they never did. I do agree and understand
That's
what that
a-
critique is.
That's the shitty side of it.
That's a good
And that's
critique.
all of
I
them.
didn't
That's
know that.
Meltzer
I
and
didn't
everybody.
know that's how a lot of.
So I would say, other than that, I don't think Meltzer makes
That's why I
shits
said
up.
that.
I don't think any of that. And Meltzer always says when Bischoff will start mouthing off a lot, he's like, man, it's so weird how Bischoff used to forget when he first got, promoted to executive VP. He'd call me all the fucking time. because like WCW had no fan base. They couldn't even do house. They canceled their house shows because they couldn't draw anybody. Like, so he called Meltzer and all them, please start talking about WCW in the dirt sheet, start talking about my acquisitions and what I'm doing and all that stuff or whatever. And then of course, when Bischoff got huge because he beat Vince finally, it was like, fuck Dave Meltzer, fuck all that. So Meltzer's first, he fires back and he's like, listen, like, you forget that you had my number on fucking speed dial when you needed me in the mid 90s, but then now I make shit up. Now,
the biggest mistake that Meltzer
Maybe
may
he
have
is
made,
lying about it.
or maybe it wasn't a mistake, is when he confronted, just you talked about it, when Meltzer confronted Vince on that talk show.
Donahue said that Vince ever since
said.
then it was bad, and he hated WWE, and he always talked shit about WWE.
It went sour from there. If he had, I don't know if he had kept his mouth shut, or if Vince just would have handled it differently. Like, if that whole incident, I think really messed up not say the dirt sheets, but definitely Meltzer with his attitude towards WWE. Everything is better than WWE since that incident, and it's fascinating why that is.
You can see whenever he has to like not bash WWE, I guess they're doing good. Well, I guess they're selling out arenas. I guess their storylines are pretty fucking
his
good,
thing.
actually.
Like, he's actually been a lot more nicer to them since like Mr. Levesque took over. And he's been complimenting because he hates Vince. So he's just like, well, it's been way better like on TV since who left.
Which is also true.
It still seems like he has
which is true, yeah.
It's not untrue. So.
Well, I guess they're doing good.
And didn't he say the only person ever offered him a job was actually WWF as like a consultant or something?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And by the way, this is eerie. So Dave Meltzer founded the Wrestling Observer in 1982 and started putting it in print. What year did Vince buy the company from his dad? 1982.
Yeah.
And then Dave Meltzer's actually outlasted Vince. Like, it's weird to think about. Like, it's really weird to think about. Like, how it's
41 years doing that out of his fucking apartment. 41 years.
Try to get back in.
I feel like whenever you put an opinion out, that there's always so much backlash for the things that you say. And I'm curious, when did you stop listening to all the haters?
I don't know that I ever did, but I mean, I respond more than I probably should. But like, I respond, I always think I'm responding because I'm trying to, explain, why this, premise is wrong and use math and things like that. And I think that the majority watching or watching this will go, okay, we learned something from this. And there will be some who will refuse to learn. And I just basically block them and move on. You basically get one chance. Oh, hey, I didn't think of it that way. That's a great response. Oh, like whatever, if it's a negative thing, trying to double down, and it's like, okay, you're not interested in learning. That's fine. And I don't have time.
Now because of that.
Well, one of the greatest feats of the last couple of years of the dirt sheets was cleaning Meltzer's office, and we'll leave it there.
That's true.
For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcast, or watch our videos on YouTube at our wrestling channel. On social media, can you give us on follow on Instagram at Nobody Cares because they can't hear it anyway, or on Facebook at No One Gives a Crap because nobody shuts the fuck up. I'll talk to you guys later. I'm not calling on anyone.
Five stars.
How are you going to sell your O.W.P. dirt sheets?
Almost came out.
I'm not selling anything if you guys can't shut your mouth. So let's stop it right there. Can't sell any T-shirts at all.
That's it. And stop.
stop.